A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Liolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, we discuss all things Cape Town City versus Kaizer Chiefs, as I'll have a tactical pre-match analysis of that Dstv Premiership encounter. So we do know that then football is back and the PSL is in full swing. So Nedbank Cup matches have been contested, the round of 32. So we're now back into the Dstv Premiership. So the last time out then in the Nedbank Cup, Cape Town City did lose 2-1 against Royal AM, where we did see then a formational change, and we did see new faces coming into Eric Tinkler's side by virtue of the fact that they've had numerous departures, most notably being then Fakhrile K and Surprise Ralani and Mubara as well. And then when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, which will be represented by the red side, they lost 1-0 against TS Galaxy the last time out. However, let's then start with Cape Town City, as they will be represented by the blue side. So with Cape Town City then, the last time out, they did start with a 4-2-3-1. However, we do know that Eric Tinkler is a tactically versatile tactician, so at times he can go with a 3-4-3. However, we'll have a look at it then from a 4-2-3-1 perspective. So in goals then, they've got Marquez, who will start in goals, and then as their back four, at left back, they will start with Terrence Machichon. So when you have a look at Terrence Machichon, this is a player then who has so much quality and a left back that has come on in leaps and bounds, especially considering then his final product. He's really improved then with regards then to offering that width for Cape Town City on the left-hand side in vertical zone 1, where then he looks to push up. He can deliver those quality balls into the box, and at times he can hold a deeper position whenever then his left winger would be high and wide. So this is a player then who's really growing in stature and who's become really important for Cape Town City. He will start on the left side of defense as the left back. And then when you have a look then at the two center backs, so you will have then Tariq Filiz, who will start as the left sided center back, and then you will have Fasika, who starts then as the right-sided centre-back. So these two then are then trying to institute a very strong partnership. So they have leaked quite a few goals playing as a pair. However, I think going forward then they should work on a couple of things, especially then their communication and how then they look to read the situation in relation to the type of ball that has been played by the opposition, where then they look to become a solid pair. But there are also then two centre-backs then who can start play from the back for this Cape Town City side. However, I just feel that they have been a bit leaky, especially with Tariq Filiz. I feel that this is a centre-back then that has the potential and should look to improve, whereas Fasika is then the more solid and physical centre-back who, so far so good, has impressed for this Cape Town City side. However, I do think that as a pair, they can get better. There's room for improvement. And then as the right back, they will have Utamim Kize, who then plays as their captain, who plays as a right back, who will look to offer width for that Cape Town City side on the right-hand side. However, as opposed to the general position that Mashego would pick up, which is a lot higher and wider on the left-hand side, Mkize does enjoy a deeper position, whereas you'll have a Craig Martin who goes high and wide, as we do know that Craig Martin is an out-and-out winger. So a lot of the times, Craig Martin is the one who'd look then to keep the width. However, he can sometimes come in, and whenever he does come in relation to the game situation, then Mkize will look to overlap. But a lot of the times, that is the average position that Mkize would hold. He's not then a right back who will always reach the bar line and look to whip those crosses in. So a lot of the times you'll see him holding that position. And then when we have then a look at the midfield, so within the heart of midfield, they started a double pivot then of Makwane and Mukeke as well. So with Makwane then is a defensive midfielder, very solid in the tackle, and is a player then who keeps it very simple within the heart of midfield. He does look to progress the ball for this Cape Town City side. And what this has done then for this Cape Town City side and Tato Mukeke specifically is that it has given him the freedom then to venture forward a bit, as we do know that Tato Mukeke does enjoy the deep laying playmaker role for this Cape Town City side, as he's very comfortable on the ball. So he can then stretch play where he's looking then to play those 40, 50 yard diagonal passes for this Cape Town City side. He can play those line breaking passes from deep, where then he is looking for Mdantsane, whenever Mdantsane is in between the lines and within the half spaces and those tight pockets of spaces. And this is a player then who has got so much quality. So you have Makwane and Mukeke as the double pivot then, with Mukeke then having the license to move a bit forward, to move more forward at times and occupy advanced pockets of spaces at times. And then when you have a look at it then, on the left wing, they've got Umayo, and then up front, they've got Morris, and then the right wing then is Craig Martin, and then the number 10 would be Mdantsane. So Mdantsane then plays as number 10. The front three with Mayo, Morris, and then Craig Martin on the right-hand side. However, then a key player for this Cape Town City side then is definitely Mdu Mdantsane. This is a player then from a qualitative perspective, ticks numerous boxes for this Cape Town City side, as he is their playmaker, and the responsibility then when it comes to ensuring that he creates opportunities for this Cape Town City side, I must say has multiplied, especially with the departure of Uralani, and also then the onus of him then being able to make those runs beyond Morris and get those goals also has become multiplied, because we do know that Fakhri Lake has also left. So with Ralani and Fakhri Lake, there were also two other players who were getting the goals for Cape Town City. So the responsibility then lays largely then on Mdantsane to be then a chief creative player for this Cape Town City side and also look to get those goals. And when you have then a look at Mdu Mdantsane, this is a player then who offers you that positional superiority by virtue of the fact that he's able to position himself adequately in between the lines, where he can take the ball then for this Cape Town City side. At times you will see him then popping up into the right-sided half space, at times the left-sided half space, at times he can drop deep, where they will look at times then to have that central overload within the heart of midfield. At times then you could see numerical superiority within the heart of midfield for Cape Town City, where then they can look to drop and make it a 3. So it's going to be very interesting then to see how then Cape Town City come about looking then to ensure that they're able then to overcome this Kaizer Chiefs side, especially then when you consider that there are new faces and it is a new approach and a new lineup for Eric Tinkler, especially when you consider those departures. And yes, of course, off the bench, you do have new signings they've made. So there's Darwin, who does play as a winger, who comes from South America. And then you've got May, a player who they did sign then in Cape Town, who was playing in the Glad Africa Championship. That is a player then who's got so much quality. He's very strong, he's very fast, and he can score goals as well for this Cape Town City side. So when you have a look at it then, they do have players that can come off the bench, and they've got Sefumba as well, a very exciting player, and they've got Jaden as well. So they do have a couple of young players that they're embedding into the side. So exciting times ahead for this Cape Town City side with regards to the young prospects they have. However, when you have a look at this game then, a key player of theirs will be Tato Mukeke with regards to then how he looks to pull strings from deep pockets of spaces, and then Mdu Mdantsane as well. How then he's looking to create chances for this Cape Town City side and look then to have that final third penetration where he looks to break into the box and score those goals for this Cape Town City side. And then when we move it on right along then, it's time for us to have a look at Kaizer Chiefs. So what we do know then about Kaizer Chiefs is that the last time out, they did play against TS Galaxy, where then they did lose 1-0. So we did see changes being made, and a couple of their players came back, and some of them made appearances off the bench. But if we're to go with what Stuart Baxter went with the last time out, so they did line up the last time out in a 4-2-3-1, which at times would transition into a 4-3-3, whenever then you'd have Blom pushing a lot higher up. he would go as an 8, and then you'd have Ngobo dropping as an 8 as well, and then you'd have Nange there. So it would transition from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3 at times. But let's go then with the standard formation, which is a 4-2-3-1. So when you have a look at it then, in goals, the last time out, they did start with Peterson, and I was very happy then with his performance, because then I think he made very important saves for this Kaizer Chiefs side, and he kept them in the game as well. So I do think that he will keep the gloves, and he shall continue within the goals for this Kaizer Chiefs side. So the two centre-backs they did start with, they started with Tabani Dube, and they started with Cardoso. So I was happy then to see Dube starting for this Kaizer Chiefs side, especially considering the fact that I think then he's very important when it comes then to ensuring that he's able to read those balls. He can deal with those balls within the corridor of uncertainty when they whipped in, those balls which are played in behind, as he reads the game very, very well, and will most likely partner Cardoso. However, there is Matoo, who can also come back. We do know that Unjabulo Ngobo is out, as it was reported by the club and Stuart Baxter that he did get a burn. So when you have then a look at the left back, so at left back they've got Untiantia, who started the last time out. And it's going to be very interesting to see then if Ntiantia will continue or if Frosla will go there, because we did see Ntiantia being taken off and Frosla coming on. So at left back, you could have Ntiantia or you could have Frosla then. And then at right back, we did see them start with Ungezane. So with Ungezane, we do know that by trade, he's a centre-back. However, then within this game, he did start as right back, because then Blom did start within the heart of midfield. So with Ungezane then, what I do like about him is that he's very solid, and he's a very strong defender. However, the downside with him is that from an offensive perspective, he won't always offer you that width in vertical zone 5, and he isn't the best then at delivering those crosses. However, he is then a very strong centre-back and very good with 1v1. And at times, I would say is a slight issue where he needs to polish up. At times, he's a bit reckless, and he does give away that foul, which is then needless, and at times he does pick up that yellow card, unnecessarily so. However, he is then a very strong and a very good defensive player. And then within the heart of midfield then, they did start with Unange and with Uplom as well. Let's just push them up as a double pivot, which then at times with transition, because then Blom would look to push higher up. However, I think it's much better suited when Blom and Nange maintain their shape as a double pivot, as opposed to having Blom being the one to push up at times, because then I just think that it gives them that solid base within the heart of midfield, and then it also allows then Ntiantia to push a lot further high up, and whenever he does push up and that space is vacated, Blom can always just go across to cover, which then wouldn't be unfamiliar territory, because he is a fullback, so he is then used to then defending 1v1. So I think it would be much better like that, and it would give Chiefs a lot more solidity, because then TS Galaxy were able to play in between the lines. And when you have a look at this opposition, when you do have Mukeke, you do have Mdantsane as well. These are players who are well adept then at picking up those positions in between the line, especially Mdantsane, because he does tend to drift into that right-sided half space. So if Blom has vacated, then it will be a field day for Mdantsane. So it's very important that Blom maintains his shape and keeps that double. And then you will have Nkosimpile Ngobo, who will then play as a 10. So with Nkosimpile Ngobo, a lot of the times we did see him occupy the right-sided half space. That's when you'd see Blom push up. Whereas if Blom then maintains his position, then Ngobo can go a lot more central in vertical zone 3, which I think then would be better for this Kaizer Chiefs side, and would allow Keagan Dolly then to also occupy his favorite right-sided half space, and then you'll have Ngezane just maintain that deep pocket of space on the right-hand side. And I think then it's a lot better like this. And then on the left-hand side, they did start with Parker, and then they had Billiard up front. So this is how Kaizer Chiefs started. However, I must say then, against TS Galaxy, they were very poor. And from a qualitative perspective, they just didn't tick enough boxes. And the only player then on the day, in my opinion, who showed up was Brandon Peterson. The rest of the gents were very flat. So I wouldn't be surprised to see changes being instituted. And I also wouldn't be surprised then to see a Nukovic come in. And if Nukovic were to come in, Nukovic definitely has to come in for Parker, because then at least when you have Nukovic up front, then you have Biliat, and then you have Dolly, and then you have Ngobo, that is much better, because then when you have a look at Parker, I just think that he was one of the worst players on the day, and I just honestly think that if Stuart Baxter keeps accommodating Parker, it will be then the death of this Kaizer Chiefs side, especially considering that then if you take out Parker, you bring in Nukovic, you've got then a three who are very creative, who also have an eye for goal, and who can contribute for this Kaizer Chiefs side, and then create chances for Nukovic. And if Nukovic is to play, he definitely has to play as a central striker, as opposed to the split striker where he starts on the left-hand side and looks to drift in. Because then, when you've got Nukovic then who occupies the box a lot more, then you will have three players who are very creative and who could create chances for him. And I think then it's better suited if Kaizer Chiefs go into this encounter against Cape Town City with Nukovic looking then to occupy the box and looking then to occupy those two centre-backs then in Fasika and in Tariq Filiz as well. So from that perspective, I think it's better if Kaizer Chiefs do approach it like this, and I mean, off the bench, they do have Sikhota, they do have Castro, they do have Khatebe as well. And the player then who's returned back to full fitness is Zuma as well. So Kaizer Chiefs then do have a lot of options that they could use and they could have coming off the bench as well. However, coming up into this encounter then, it is quite an interesting encounter for Cape Town City. I do foresee Mdu Mdantsane being their key player. For Kaizer Chiefs, their key player then will be Keagan Dolly. However, I think then that this match will end in a draw. I just don't see any side then being able to win this encounter, because I do think that both sides haven't really played the best of football, and especially Kaizer Chiefs then from a qualitative perspective, the last time out, that wasn't an impressive showing at all. They were very poor, they lacked energy, they lacked desire, and they lacked that heart as well. So I do foresee a draw in this encounter. However, I do see a score draw of 1-1. Ladies and gentlemen, do let me know at home, what do you make of this encounter, Cape Town City versus Kaizer Chiefs? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.